Moebius is a mystery thriller, and it has a few paranormal elements to it. It's set in contemporary world, travel to Paris and Zurich and Venice and Cairo and DC and Manhattan. So in Moebius you play Malachi Rector, and he's a genius with a photographic memory, and he's an expert in history. So when you first start the game, he's making a living by evaluating antiquities, and he goes to places all over the world evaluating antiques for places like Sotheby's and Rutherford's and these huge auction houses. So in the beginning of the game, Malachi is hired by this secret government agency to investigate the life of this woman who was killed, and they want to know if her life matches anybody in history because he's the historical expert. So as he gets further into this mystery, he starts trying to figure out what this government agency really does, what theory of space and time they're working with, and why they think that these people or these patterns are reoccurring, and what that has to do with the big mystery that's going on in the game. Malachi hires a security guard at the beginning of Chapter 2, David Walker, and he's ex-military, and Malachi is very much a loner, so the relationship between these two men, slowly over the course of the game, they become true partners, and it's sort of a fun relationship to watch grow. And also you actually play as David a little bit in Chapter 3. There's a section of the game that you play from his point of view, and then again in Chapter 7 you get to play as David. The gameplay is fairly traditional adventure gameplay, but there are some new puzzle types that have to do with Malachi's abilities and his memory. So there's instances in the game where you have to analyze an object, for example, and it goes into this interface which is basically Malachi's memory bank. And you can look at a certain thing like a hook on a canopic chest, which is one of the objects in the game, and go through basically the files of his memory of what other things that might have looked like or matched in the past. And similarly, you can analyze people, and you find out information about their life. Like, for example, maybe a young woman was married to a 46-year-old when she was 18. You can go through his memory banks and see what other historical women that might match. And as you learn more about this person, you can narrow down these choices into recognizing her as a specific historical personality. So it's kind of a combination between really traditional adventure gameplay with dialogue and inventory, these new history-based puzzles, and more of a first-person puzzle approach. So the story in Moebius is really the central feature of the game, in that, as you go along, each chapter you're unfolding more and more layers of the story. It keeps getting twisted in ways that you didn't really expect or you didn't see coming. And there's this wonderful relationship that builds over the course of the game that people have gotten really invested in. So I'd say, the most important thing about Moebius, or the key feature of Moebius, is really the story that you, as playing as Malachi and then sometimes as David, will be able to unfold and unravel as you go. I really love Chapter 3, which just takes place in Manhattan, and I mainly love it for the puzzles and the relationship stuff that's in that chapter. There's sort of a fight that occurs, and some real sort of personal drama going on there. We were able to finance Moebius for the Kickstarter, which was great because it meant that we have had total control over the project, and we're able to take it in the directions that we really wanted it to go, and also retain control of the final release of the project. So we're really grateful that we had that opportunity. If we hadn't had the Kickstarter, Moebius probably wouldn't exist at all. Moebius is coming out April 15th, 2014, and it's going to be on Steam and GOG and a number of other digital platforms, PC and Mac initially, and then shortly after iPad and Android.